Welcome to Sticking to the Truth with Julene Jackson and Debbie Jansen. For today's show, Julene and Debbie will portray two Pilgrim ladies who came to America on the Mayflower. Gertrude and Tilly are best friends, and we begin with Gertrude yelling out her window.
Tilly, come meet me between the houses. Tilly, did you hear me?
Yes, Gerdy. I'm coming.
Ah, Tilly, I needed to see you. I've been out of sorts today.
What's wrong, Gerdy?
I've been thinking about our voyage on the Mayflower. After 66 days at sea, I was ready to stay on land, I thought. But then that first winter was brutal. Do you remember that?
Oh, don't remind me, Gerdy.
We had no food or warmth, and the houses weren't built yet. It was so hard. And I was sick, and my poor Elam, he did all he could for us. But to watch him die, my heart just isn't the same.
Gerdy, I know. I can only imagine. I'm so sorry. He was such a good man. I don't mean to rub it in, but I do not know what I would do without my Thomas. And think of all our friends, our sisters that we lost. I think there was, about 25 of us women folk that came over, and we lost about 20 of us. Those beautiful Mayflower mothers, as I like to call them. We saw our dear friends give their food to their babies and lay their little bodies on their bodies at night to keep them warm. It was terrible. And I know most of them didn't survive, the women folk, because of the sickness and the starvation and the disease and the freezing temperatures. Oh, is this why you needed to see me, Gerdy?
Yes, Tilly, I just needed to see you. It's sad, so sad. But I do love being free. I like that I don't have to worry about some soldier taking us to jail because we didn't want to go to the King's Church. I remember when my Uncle Jan died in prison. And then once when we couldn't pay our taxes, the king threatened to jail our entire family, children and all. But do you remember that tailor that paid our taxes? What was his name?
Whitmore, I think. Whitmore it was. Oh, it's been so long, but wasn't he a godsend? Wasn't he a good man? Didn't we have secret Bible studies up in his attic at times when someone smuggled one of the Bibles out of the King's Church and we all gathered to study the Word on our own? He was a good
Yes, we did that. Thank you for reminding me. And he was such a good man. Without his help, I might not be free. But you know what? We are free now. We are free to work from sun up to sundown without pay. Isn't that wonderful? It's been so hard here, and in many ways harder than persecution from the king. Yet I would rather have this. We're living in luxury with muddy streets, dirty clothes, and windy, leaking houses. And yet, Tilly, look at that sunset. Isn't it beautiful? It's just breathtaking.
Oh, it is, Gerdy. I love it. You know, I love how an attitude of gratitude can just change our whole countenance. I have to admit, too, each morning when I wake up and I smell that fresh air by the sea and listen to those songbirds and the wind rustling through the leaves and watching the morning drip off the dew drip off the leaves, it just makes me feel so good to see God's handiwork unspoiled by those treacherous crowds in London. Remember, with all the shops and the trash and the smells, this is paradise, and I'm grateful every morning I get up as well, Gerdy.
Oh, me too. Yeah, this fresh air is so much better than Giles' sweaty shirt. Do you remember the butcher that smelled so bad?
Ooh, do I ever.
Oh, his shop was on the end of town, and he needed all the breezes from the forest to conquer that awful smell. The man had to be festering for a long time to smell as terrible as he did. And remember how he would grin with those teeth missing and slur by saying, "Don't you want some meat today?"
You sound like him, Gerdy. Oh, yeah. I heard he had a contest one time with the goat, and he won.
Oh, my. Well, there were some things to laugh about in England, but the bad tainted everything. The king was always in our business. I wanted to be free to make my own decisions, and I hope my work here will mean a better life for my family. Bless his heart, Elam would scold me for remembering England. Gerdy, he would say, a monarchy is the worst. Never look back. But now I'm thinking, what is a monarchy?
Well, I always think it is power in the hand of just one or two. We don't really get to have a say about certain things. And Gerdy, really, mostly we've only ever known a monarchy, right? Kingly government. Right. But I know in Holy Writ, the good Lord tells us that when wicked kings rule, the people mourn. And when those kings aren't steeped in God's law, like King James wasn't, he was full of pride and greed and ego, and we suffered at his hands. I think kings think that they are God unto themselves. They say they rule by the divine rights of king, meaning they're only accountable to God. But I don't know what kind of God our King James was worshiping. It's not the God that I worshipped, that's for sure.
Yeah. So it wasn't that he was a king that was the problem. It was that there were no checks on his power, and that maybe he wasn't listening to the King of Kings. I hope we get it right this time. I hope our leaders here in this new land will make it so everyone can be free.
I think they're working on that. Remember that beautiful charter they all signed, the Mayflower Compact, that they would go on to call it, before they got off the Mayflower, where it talked about that we would be able to, decide our own laws, and we wouldn't just have to, listen to what the king told us was law. Now, to me, Gerdy, that feels like true freedom, when we can determine, the type of place that we live and how we're governed.
Aw. Yeah, I forgot they did that. Thank you for reminding me. And that's so good. I pray that they will get it right. Can you believe, though, that we are such good friends with the Indians? I am so glad we do not have to dress like them in order to be friends. Can you see me in feathers?
Well, Gerdy, I've seen you first thing in the morning, and I don't know. I'm thinking feathers might be an improvement some mornings.
Tilly, you are so fun.
But, really, I'm just kidding, Gerdy. The natives have been so good to us and so good to me and my children. I don't think we could have survived the first winter or the second and third without them. A lot of us didn't survive that first winter. That's why I'm so grateful that we became friends and God sent them to us. I think of my man Thomas. He's a good man, but he's no farmer.
Well, you've really become good friends with Squanto. Is that his name, I think? Yeah, you were going to tell me his story. What happened to him?
Oh, I just adore Squanto. It's really such a sad story, but it is amazing how good things come to those who love God. And all of our trials and afflictions work towards our good. And I kind of like to think that's what happened with Squanto when he was a young boy. I think he told me he was about 12. He and his friends were out playing in the woods, and some traders came along in these big ships and kind of, tricked them into their ship and then kidnapped he and his friends, took them across the ocean, and Squanto landed in Spain, and he was sold into slavery. But luckily for him, God's hand was on him, and some Spanish, he somehow came to live with some Spanish monks, and they were so kind to him, and they taught him about God, and they taught him English, and they knew that he wanted to go back to his home here in the New World. And so they were able to get him to London, because that's where all the ships, we know this, all the ships take out to the New World from London. And so he had to wait, I think it was a year or two, because they only go this way every so often, every few years. And so in the meantime, he lived with this wonderful family in London, and he began to really speak and learn to love them. And he was sad to have to leave them, but he wanted to come back home. And he actually paid for some of his passage back to the New World from London, working as a translator with the tradespeople on the ship.
Oh.
So, when he arrived here in the very village that we're living in now, it was barren. No one was around. Like the fields, they were just empty. And come to find out, a terrible illness had struck his people, and they all died. And so he lived for a time with the Wampanoag Indians. And then he just got so sad seeing all these little families, loving on each other, that he just lived by himself in the woods for a few years until Samoset came and told him recently that, some white people had arrived and were living in the Padawak village that had been empty because all the Indians were afraid to go back to that village because they thought bad spirits lived there. And hence, we show up. And that's why so many of the fields were already in, crops were still growing to some degree, and things where food was buried in the earth. And so Squanto came. And you can imagine how we felt when this young Indian boy started speaking our language, and he taught us how to plant corn and how to fertilize the ground with fish and how to catch those eels in the muddy streams and where the best lobsters on the sea rocks could be found. And I really do think Squanto, I remember our governor, William Bradford, saying, Squanto, you're like Joseph of old in the Bible, that you as a young boy were sold into slavery, but God had a purpose and a cause for you, and you have been the answer to our prayers and to your Squanto. And so we love that young boy, and his heartache and hardship has been turned to our good, because I'm not sure we could have survived a second and third winter without really learning how to grow food and to build durable housing here without the help of Squanto and his friends.
I never thought about that because I didn't know, but my goodness, the fact that he knew English and could talk to you. Can you imagine trying to learn how to farm with the language barrier? God works in mysterious ways, Tilly. Our settlement would not have made it without Squanto. Praise God for his faithfulness. I hear Squanto and some other braves are bringing the meat for our huge celebration.
Wild turkey and deer and all kind of fish and lobster and eels. I mean, I've grown to have a real taste for eels. I must admit, I didn't eat that kind of way in London. But they are bringing a lot of meat, and we're going to have a wonderful time. Many of the Wampanoag Indians and tribe will be there, along with Samoset and Chief Massawet, and I'm so grateful for their friendship and all the alliance and safety that we have as friends.
And I heard that we're going to have a peace treaty. It's just all too wonderful. I am so excited.
And I can see you got some of your finest clothes and bonnets on ensembles on, Gerdy. You're going to be looking mighty fine tomorrow. I do believe this harvest feast of Thanksgiving is, I just feel it in my bones. It's going to change the world forever, as it has a rippling effect, I believe, on our rising generations to come.
I believe that too. So you sit here and keep listening for the songbirds. I'm going to get busy cooking because Dancing Bird told me that it's bad luck not to fix my pumpkin special for our feast. And he said he might have to give me the name of Stinking Feet if I mess up. I told him to worry about his own stinking feet, and I'm going to get busy. I love you, Tilly. Thanks for meeting me.
Love you, Gerdy. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Okay, guys, that was fun, but now it's just the real us.
Oh, do we have to? I miss Gerdy already, Deb. That was a lot of fun. And you look, I mean, really amazing with that. It looks like there's a turkey behind you, with the falling little snow.
I don't know. I'll turn around and find out later, just so it doesn't attack.
Great turkey on your porch there, Deb. But, I love the history this time of year. Just 10 years later, John Winthrop, who was going to be the governor, he came in 1630. So we know the Pilgrims landed in the Mayflower 1620. 10 years later, a Puritan leader by the name of John Winthrop wrote a wonderful essay on his ship, the Arabella, before he would disembark with all of his people. And he talked about how, this new home in this new world would be a city on a hill, probably kind of like that verbiage from Matthew 5, right? Let your light so shine, be a city on a hill. And that all the eyes of people everywhere would be upon them. He felt that in 1630. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. And in other words, if the Puritans failed to keep their covenant with God, all the world would see their sins and faults.
Yeah, he was really prophetic in his warning, because then he would go on to write in this essay entitled The Model of Christian Charity. He said, so that if we shall deal falsely with our God in this work we have undertaken, and so cause him to withdraw, so if they would stray from their teachings and covenants with God, he would withdraw his present help from us, and we shall be made story and a byword throughout the world. So
wow,
that if they didn't stay true to God, that it would just be a story and not the impact that God intended them to have.
So I think from the very beginning, God had his hand on this land and was showing Winthrop what the possible future was. This Thanksgiving season, let's remember the real cause of every problem in the United States of America. America has lost the overarching desire to be that city upon a hill. Many of our citizens give in to evil, dishonesty, murder, sexual sins, and have developed a hatred for God.
And yet, Debbie, it's very hard for me to not want to call you Gerdy and your little get up. But yeah, Deb, it's amazing. Rising out of all of the pain and the sorrow and the wrongdoing, can't you see that God is causing a great revival in our land as thousands and tens of thousands, and I think hundreds of thousands, particularly young people, are turning to God and to his truth, and knowing that in doing so, that our country will be strengthened and they'll be blessed. I just love young people are not only wanting to proclaim to be believers, but they want to do the gospel of God. They want to do his will and to keep his commandments. It's one thing, right, to give lip service. It's another thing to want to follow his teachings. And we're seeing that particularly among the young people. And it's energizing.
Right. Well, Julene and I believe that God is with us and that he is going to help America. The shutdown, the filibuster, socialized medicine, poverty, mental illness, depraved leaders, and even socialists like Mandami have no control over America if we turn back to God.
Yeah, they really won't. we really don't have to get ourselves all, knickers twisted up in a ball, so to speak. If we, and particularly because it's such a great season of the year, do our research, pull out these great books about these heroes of the past, study history, look at really the true principles upon which they founded this new world and this new nation. And of course, study a little bit of socialism and communism, and you will see that no civilizations have ever prospered when power was just in the hands of a few and when government is promised all kind of free things. We know, our founders knew, those pilgrims knew that the proper role of governance wasn't, to give free things, to provide equal things, but to protect equal rights. So fall in love with the heroes of the past. I'd even say, Deb, go visit. It's not too late. Go to Plymouth, Massachusetts. There's marvelous, that Plymouth plantation is there. There's the Jenny Museum. There's the Founders Monument to the Pilgrims. There's a Thanksgiving Day parade, I think a day or two before Thanksgiving. There's just a lot of wonderful things you can do to feel the spirit of these great men and women that lived before us.
And once you do all that research and you feel the spirit of how wonderful America is, get on your knees and thank God for this wonderful country. Pray for your leaders and the revival that is sweeping across America. Study your Bible and ask God for guidance. To avoid violence with your children, we've been talking about that, and here's another tip. Teach them to respect older people and to love and respect their heritage. That will keep them grounded and strong. And then remember, Julene,
my most favorite scripture, that if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn to my face, turn from their wicked ways and seek my face, God says, I will hear them from the heavens and I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land. In 2 Chronicles 7:14, he will heal our families, our relationships, and this land.
And also remember that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And that's 2 Timothy 1:7. Well, guys, this has been so fun today. We hope you can feel peace and thankfulness for the wonderful country that began with the Pilgrims and their love for God. Subscribe to this podcast and join us again. You can ask a question or request that we dig into a specific topic by writing Debbie at debbiejansen.com. And thanks again to our wonderful producer, Ken Jansen. And today, we want to thank Jamie Jansen for my lovely new studio and camera equipment. And thank you, Jamie, for filming us today. We couldn't do this without you. This is Debbie Jansen, and I'm sticking to the truth.
And I'm Julene Jackson, otherwise known as Tilly for today. We hope that you will keep sticking to the truth. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.